everyone, and welcome to Listen Able, the corner of the internet where we talk all things accessible reading. And for today's video, I thought we could talk about all the books I've read this November. So I'll pop up the stats at the side here so you can see how my month's been. And as you can see, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. We've had 3 4.5-star reads, 1 4-star read. We had 7 3.5-star reads, so really quite middling books. And then just 1 2-star disaster, which I really didn't like, but we'll get into that one in the video. So now's the time to kill it with a cup of tea and let's get cracking. First up, I read The Gingerbread Bakery by Laurie Gilmore. Now this is the 5th book in the Dream Harbour series, and to be quite honest, I was really disappointed with it. It just didn't have that same vibe as the others. Now Laurie had changed quite a few things in this one, so we had a massive time jump in the books, so there was 2 stories running parallel with one another, and neither of them felt fleshed out. They're not terribly long books anyway, they're like maybe 300 pages at the most. So to split it into 2 storylines, both of them felt a bit insta-love, neither of them felt fleshed out. I didn't love it at all. And for this one, I think I only gave it sort of 3 stars. So I really was disappointed in this book, considering quite a few of these books in the series have been 5-star reads for me. I mean, I loved The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, the first book in the series. But no, this one wasn't for me. But for anyone who wants to pick the series up, the first book, Pumpkin Spice Cafe, is really good. And it follows Jeannie. And Jeannie gets gifted a coffee shop from her aunt. And she doesn't know anything about it. And she's never lived in a small town before, so she moves from the big city to Dream Harbour to open up this cafe. And once she gets there, she meets a grumpy farmer called Logan, and then romance goes from there. And it is a really good read, and most of the series, in fact all of the first 4 books, have been fantastic. I think this just wasn't for me. I don't know what it was, because it's one of the most anticipated romances in the series so far. So for those that you don't know, each book is based on a different couple, and I've loved the first 4 couples, but yeah, no, this one didn't hit for me. Now we've covered the book, let's talk a little bit about the audio performances. So this one was read by Savannah Peachwood and Sebastian York, and for the whole, I really like their narration style. It's dual POV, which is fantastic. It's one of my favourite ways to read a romance, because I love getting that little bit of spice from the man and his emotion, and the same from the woman. But even that couldn't draw me into this one. It just didn't gel for me. The second book I read this month was Stone and Sky by Ben Aronovich, and this is the 10th book in the Rivers of London series. Now this was one of my most anticipated reads, because I haven't read a Rivers of London book in quite a while actually, so I was really excited to pick this one up. But when it got down to it, actually, again, really disappointed. And I think this has got something to do with, it was the first time, and maybe it not, but for me it felt like it was the first time that it had 2 distinct POVs, but also 2 distinct storylines. And to be quite honest, it felt like 2 novellas squashed together. We had Peter's side of the story, and we had Abigail's side of the story, and it's supposed to be one mystery, and they're both solving different bits, but nobody's quite got all the information, and it just didn't work. I couldn't get into it. There was loads of information that I felt missing. There was this huge, well, it's a spoiler, so I don't want to talk about it. There's this huge thing going on for Abigail, and it just felt like I was blindsided with it, and it wasn't treated delicately. Yeah, no, not for me. And I love the Rivers of London books. I'm 10 books deep now, so I wouldn't be back this many times if I didn't really enjoy the series. So I just think it missed, and it might be that the more I read, the harder it gets to find that 5-star read, and it just gets more elusive, it feels like, at the moment. So for this one, I only rated it a 3-star book, but the audio, on the other hand, that was much better. We've got our favourite man, Colburn Holbrook Smith, and Siobhan Marks. So both of these I've listened to many times. Obviously, all the novellas for Abigail by Siobhan are wonderful, and I love Peter's narration anyway. by Cobner Hall Brooksmith. That's all fantastic. So again, can't complain about the sultry tones in this one because they're all brought to you in spades. Just the book's pacing was out maybe. The world building didn't feel as good. We weren't based in London again. We were up in Scotland. And that just didn't mesh for me. So not a great read. The third book I read this November was Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Maas. And I really enjoyed this one because I really loved Bonds of Hercules. Alexis is a fantastic main female character. She's really empowering and she's really strong. And it comes across in the books. And in Blood of Hercules, we get to see that strength grow. And her character development is just incredible. And Jasmine Maas writes fantastic humour. She writes fantastic side characters. The cast of this one is enormous and it is fantastic. And my other favourite thing about this book, animal companions. Oh my goodness, I love an animal companion. And there are so many to love in this series. They are just fantastic. I gave this book 3.5 stars. So much of this book hit for me. But I think there's just a few niggles, and actually they're probably positive niggles, and I think maybe if I did a reread, my star rating for this one would go up because I think maybe I would settle a little bit more. But the main critique I've got for this one is I just wanted more. It didn't feel finished. I was expecting a trilogy maybe, and it feels like it's going to be a duology. There's no new books by Jasmine Maas announced. I've scoured the internet to see if she's planning on writing a sequel or maybe another spin-off duology in the same world. I'm just desperate for more. I wanted more of those characters. I wanted more of that world. I just want more, and hopefully we'll get that. From an audio perspective, I gave this one 4.5 stars. I love the audio for this book, and I think that comes down to the fact that we've got a massive cast. It's 6 different narrators, 6 different actors. They all do a fantastic job of bringing these characters to life, and they're very distinct voices, so you can always tell which character's which. You don't get confused in this one ever because it's so clear on who's who and which POV you're reading from at a time. But that might also be part of the reason why it felt like I wanted more, because there are so many of these characters that we just touched on that I would love to see more from. So I'm really excited to hopefully, touch wood, get another book by Jasmine Maas in the future. And now for the worst book of the month, and it was Belladonna by Adeline Grace, and I gave it 2 stars. And to be quite honest, in retrospect, it's probably 2 stars too many. I really didn't like this book, and I'm not saying Adeline Grace isn't a good writer, because she probably is. I think I just took really big problems out of it. I didn't like the story, I didn't like the themes. It's supposed to be a YA book, and I really don't like that it felt like it fantasized children and old men. And we're not talking, even the age gap is ridiculous. We're talking about death and immortal she starts out as a baby in the first book. This man is shepherding her through all these different families until eventually the only family she's got left are the Hawthorns, and that's where she moves. And there is a mystery going on, and there's some plot in there, and it's all a bit spooky and it's all a bit strange, and maybe it's supposed to feel uncomfortable, but for me, I just couldn't get past this romance. It didn't feel right for me. It didn't feel comfortable for me, and I really didn't enjoy it. And I'm so sorry. It's like a no-star book. The audio for this one, again, it isn't fantastic, and I wondered if that's got something to do with the fact that I just didn't like the book. So Kristen Atherton did a good job with the audio. It just wasn't a great job. And I think it's because when all those little pieces come in and they're building up that story for you in your mind, sometimes it's really easy, if the book's fantastic, to fall in love with the audio, and they'll come side by side. And obviously this book was terrible. The audio was middling. It just didn't gel for me. Next up, I read a trilogy of books, and I read the Sworn Soldier trilogy, starting with What Moves the Dead. Now, these books are written by T. Kingfisher, and I didn't love any of them. I gave the first one 3.5 stars, and I gave the other 2 3 stars. They're all a little bit middling. But I don't think that that's the books, because I actually think the books are probably really good. I think this is more a me problem. They're horror based, a bit spooky, a bit scary, and I don't read books like that ever normally. They came up on the library. I thought, ooh, these are something different. I've never read any Kingfisher before. Let's pick it all up. Let's see how it goes. And I just got a bit excited, and I decided, I was determined I was just going to read all three books because they're only really small. So I read them, but actually, maybe there's a better series for me to try by them, because those just weren't for me. Now, the first book, What Moves the Dead, follows Alex Easton, and they receive a letter from the dear friend to say that they're dying, and they rush to the estate and they meet with the family, and they obviously meet the doctor, and then we get this really spooky mystery where we're not sure what's going on, and it's all a bit skin crawling, and it didn't do it for me, I'm afraid. From an audio perspective, they're solid. Andy Ingalls does a good job of the recordings for these books. He probably does a better job if you like spooky books. So for me, it was just a 3-star. But actually, they're probably not. The audio is not terrible. It's all nice and clear. He's got his own style, and it works for these books. The books just didn't work for me. So the audio didn't work for me, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't give them a try, because they're certainly worth a read. And finally, on a brighter note, we've got a 4-star read, and this was The Rosefield by Philip Pullman, and it's the third book in the Book of Dust series, and I've loved these series. We've got 6 books from the Golden Compass series, and now the Book of Dust trilogy, all focused on Lyra and her story, and every single one is fantastic. I mean, if you don't know about the Golden Compass, we're following a young child called Lyra, and she is living in Cambridge in a university, and there's someone comes to the university to take her as a ward, and she goes out into the world, and then she's thrust into this magical world where nothing is quite as it seems, and there's a mystery happening, and these books are wonderful. I loved all of it. Now, the Book of Dust series, the first book is more of a prequel to that series, and I loved that story and how it threads through, and it talks about how Lara got to the university and how she ended up there as a baby. And then the second 2 books in the Book of Dust series are following Lara as an adult when she's got a job, and how the world has changed, and how magic and the church fundamentally affects the society. And I really loved this series, and they're all fantastic. The other amazing thing about this series is the narration, and we've got an absolute god narrating these books. It's Michael Sheen, and he does a wonderful job of narrating these books, and it's probably a 5-star narration. I love his ability to give all of the characters life and depth and voices. It's fantastic, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I am really sad to see the end of this series, because I really have loved being with Lara all this time. This one I am devastated about, and it should have been a 5-star read, and yeah, I'm so sorry that it's not. And that book is Brigands and Bread Knives by Travis Baldree, and it wasn't bad. I still gave it 3.5 stars, but my expectations were just through the roof. Legends and Lattes and Bookshops and Bone Dust are just, they hit at the right time. They're epic cozy fantasy books that I loved, and I can't work out if moving from the central main character Viv in the series has altered the books, or the extra adventure and the stakes and all of those other things that were brought into the series through this book. They just didn't quite land for me as much as I wanted them to, and I just didn't love it as much as I thought I would, and that really devastates me, because Travis Baldree is a fantastic writer, and he's a fantastic narrator, because he narrates all of his own books, and I know he narrates for many other famous authors too, but yeah, he narrates all of his own works, and the narration, as always, 5 stars. I love his rich, cozy, warm voice, the way that it just wraps around you and makes you instantly know it's him. You can always tell Travis Baldrig's voice because it's just so sensual. It's perfect for a read, for a cozy read. It just gives you that perfect homely feeling. So yeah, a bit devastated by that one. And at last, we finally get to the good portion of the video. The last 3 books were all 4.5-star reads. So at least we've got something positive to end with. The first of those was Heavenly Bodies by Amani Eriu. Now, I read this one in preparation for Fallen Star, which I think has already arrived in my house. So I'm really excited to pick Fallen Star up in December and get that one read, because Heavenly Bodies was fantastic. I loved reading it. We follow Alexis, and she's a cursed fae who runs away from her kingdom in the night, and she moves to Helios, a kingdom in the day, where she's gone and she wants to learn to fight. And there's a mystery going on, and there's a romance going on, and the only little niggle that stopped this one being a 5-star read was, I think the more I read books, the more aware of the storylines that you become, and you sort of see the twists coming, and it's not great. And I saw the final twist coming in, and I wasn't sure how she was going to lay it out, but you knew exactly how it was going to play out. You knew exactly what the final mark was going to be the whole way through the story. And for me, that just spoiled the books a little bit. But it's not a massive deal, because I'm still really excited to read the next one. And obviously I gave it 4.5 stars. And the way she did it was incredible. And obviously as she grows this world, I'm hoping we'll see even more of the stars and even more of the story, and we'll get some more of the world, because it was so based in Helios, this one. But I think the new one, it's just going to expand everything so much more, and I'm really excited to see it. Now, the audio for this one, Jane Collingwood read the book, or narrated the book, and it was fantastic. That was also 5 stars. So this one is definitely worth picking up, because the narration is top drawer. The book is incredible, perfect romantasy, definitely worth reading, and I hope that you'll get hold of it. Our last 2 books sort of come hand in hand, because the first was a reread for Quicksilver, and the second was obviously Brimstone, and I loved both. Quicksilver was not diminished on a reread. It still hit all of those wonderful notes. The spice, it hits the humour, it hits on the drama, the high stakes, all of those points that even though I knew what was coming, it still felt so thrilling, so real. It was just fantastic, and it kept it rating at 4.5 stars. It was wonderful. Brimstone, I enjoyed. I think I need to read it again. I think I need to sit down with it, take my time, and just enjoy it. And I'll probably do that, hopefully ready for when the 3rd book comes out. And sometimes that's the best way to do it, because there'll be so much I missed. That's the best bit about rereading a book. You get to see all of the little Easter eggs and all of the little pieces of the puzzle that you missed along the way. And I think maybe that's what I need to do. I need to go back and see all those things, and maybe the 4.5 stars that I gave it will become 5 stars, because it is a fantastic read. The audio for both of these books is done by Stella Bloom and Anthony Paolini, and I have to say the audio is fantastic. Another one with these 2 dual POVs coming together to create magic. It's definitely 5 stars when it comes to the audio, and that's because you get all the gorgeous Kingfisher POVs, especially the extra POVs. I don't know if you've picked up on Audible. Kingfisher's POVs have been recorded from all of the other books, which I'm sort of hoping they'll do again for the Brimstone POVs, because I got the Waterstones edition and that's got the extra chapters. So it would be lovely to see those ones converted into some audio files as well. because I love being able to pick them up like that. And that's all the books I've read this November. As you can see, it was a bit of a mixed bag, and the start of November was definitely not the strongest start to a month that I've had, but the end of the month was perfection. So many good reads at the end of November, so I'm really glad that we did that. I just hope that trend continues into December, because it's a busy month and sometimes it's really easy for the pace to slip off a little bit in December when you've got so many other things to do that your book count sort of drops off a touch. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. If anybody read anything fantastic this month, drop a comment and let me know what it was that you read. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.